as was mentioned, I served a stint in the state legislature, 2 terms. And part of the reason why I only served 2 terms, you heard all the committees they had me co-chairing. Well, when you're co-chairing 4 committees and you got that much on your plate, then they don't pay you anything either. It's time to look for something else. So about 12 years ago, when they had the new congressional districts redrawn, I ran the first time, fell just a few hundred votes short, and came back and ran the second time and won it in 2014. And since that time, I have served on the Agriculture Committee and the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. And those 2 committees are a little bit unique in Congress, and always have been, largely. On the Ag Committee, for example, most of your policy disputes are regional, not political. The Midwest versus the Southeast versus the West Coast, et cetera. And on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, practically every single district, all districts obviously, have roads and bridges and infrastructure. And so the T&I Committee has really been a hallmark of bipartisanship for the most part over the years. And it's one of the reasons why the bills that we pass in the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee tend to endure because they have strong bipartisan support. And they have strong bipartisan support because they are member-driven. It's member-driven legislation from the ground up, where all sides are considered and taken into account. And we produce a bipartisan bill. Sam Graves, who's the current chairman of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, who I guess is in his 4th term as the lead Republican on the committee. He's very committed to keeping the committee as bipartisan as possible. He and Rick Larson, who I think you're going to hear from Rick a little later this morning, and Rick is a good friend. He and Rick, I believe, came into Congress at the same time, or near about the same time, and they're very close colleagues and work very, very well together. So I say all that because I anticipate we're going to have a very busy year this year in particular, next year as well. It's going to be a really busy Congress. I anticipate that we're certainly going to try to perform with the surface reauthorization bill, very similar to what we were able to do with FAA reauthorization and what every 2 years we've been able to achieve with the Water Resources Development Act, or WRDA as it's called, which this past Congress I was the chairman of that particular subcommittee and the ranking member the Congress before. So I anticipate that you're going to see a number of hearings. We already had one in the subcommittee the other day and the other week. Very good one. Get things kicked off in a good way. You all had great representation there before the subcommittee. Did a great job. And all that is very instructive to our work as we move forward. You know, the infrastructure bill that passed in the last 3 Congresses ago, it all runs together in my mind. That was about a $1.2 trillion bill, and about $400 billion of that was not paid for. So we're going to be looking to reauthorize this year, have a product by the end of the year that can be signed into law. That's the basic time frame. Some of you may be thinking, oh, well, we're getting, it doesn't expire until 2026. Well, we're not going to wait till 2026. We're going to get moving on it now. We have a new president in the White House. We have new leadership in the U.S. Senate. Have a very, very, very thin, tiny majority Republicans do in the House. And if one of us gets a cold, the speaker gets a little queasy, so I mean, that's just how tight it is in the House these days, as close a margin as I think it's ever been in the history of the country. Of course, it can't get much closer without flipping. But it's a interesting dynamic. So you're observing us now go through the throes of trying to put together a budget resolution which gets to the reconciliation aspect. Don't worry about any of that affecting anything much in the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Most of our dollars, very few of our dollars are mandatory spending. 95+% of it is in the discretionary column. And most of the issues we will be dealing with this Congress are going to be directly related to surface transportation reauthorization. Now, I'm going to give you all an assignment. You may not get this that often. As chairman of the subcommittee, I want to know what you think are going to be improvements to the bill. I want your input. Sam Graves, the chairman, wants your input. The other members of the committee, we want as much input as we can possibly get to make sure that we produce the very best product for the country that we possibly can. I want to know the regulatory requirements that you're dealing with, that you believe can be streamlined. You know, the average major project runs 6 years over. The average major project runs behind by 6 years. That costs the economy about $3.7 trillion. Not to mention all the added cost, of additional year of a project. And most of that is directly related to rules and regulations and permitting. So we are very much interested in regulatory reform. It was mentioned that I was co-chair of the Regulatory Reform Committee at the state level. This is a particular passion of mine, has been for a long, long time, because I recognize very early, we always talk about taxes and we talk about spending, but what really kills business, what really kills progress, what really adds cost are the myriad of rules and regulations at all levels of government that make your jobs so much more difficult, to meet the demands of the populace that you serve. So I want to know all the things out there that you're struggling with from a regulatory standpoint, where we as Congress can make a real difference to help curtail the cost of a lot of these projects. We're looking to streamline. We're also looking to reinvest in what I would call traditional infrastructure, roads and bridges. We're not going to neglect any of the other modes by any means, but we're really looking to reassert attention towards the real critical projects that are necessary for your states. You need flexibility, you need certainty. I want to know all the things that you can provide to us that will help us get you more certainty, more flexibility, and a streamlined process. Is that fair enough? You got your work assignment? Because we're going to go to work on this early. And I hope, we can have a bill out of the House late summer, early fall. It always takes the Senate a whole lot longer, just nature of the institution. I'm a former Senate staffer, so I'm probably the only House member that actually has high regard for the rules of the U.S. Senate. I used to use them to my advantage when I was there. And working for Senator Helms is where I got my real education, by the way. It was mentioned my degrees from NC State, but I didn't get my real education until I came to Capitol Hill and worked for Senator Helms, who, by the way, was probably the most opposite, personally, of anybody that the media portrayed at the time. But that's my focus: permitting reform, streamlining the rules and regulations, flexibility, and getting those dollars back to where we get the greatest bang for the buck. Now, it's uncertain at this point in time exactly how much money we're going to have to work with. And so that's obviously going to drive this too. Your policy is often shaped by how much money you have to have available to you. But the more we can streamline, the more efficient we can make these projects, the more money we're going to save that we can invest in other ways. So those are the things that you can do to be helpful to us as we move forward. We are going to bend over backwards to make sure that this is a bipartisan process. And one of the ways we do that is, we solicit input from all sides. Every single member of the committee is going to have an opportunity to weigh in and provide their input. And not just the subcommittee and the committee, but the entire House Republican membership. That's what we traditionally do. That's what we're going to continue to do. And following that roadmap, I think we're going to be able to produce a very good, strong bipartisan bill. That's certainly the goal anyway. We get that out early. It helps to set the tone with the Senate. A lot of what the House passes in the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, once it gets to the Senate, they miraculously, they leave a lot of our stuff intact. The FAA bill is a really good example. The Water Resources Development Act bills are really, really good examples. And it's because we do our homework, we do a good job, we produce a really good product that has bipartisan support, and so therefore a lot of it ends up being adopted by the Senate. They make tweaks and changes here and there, and they have certain members with certain priorities, and that's reflected in that. But if you look at the nature of our bills, many times it's pretty much a House product that eventually gets to the president's desk for his signature. And so we're looking to accomplish that in the same mode with this. So I appreciate your time, I appreciate your interest, very sincere about your input on the regulatory front. And anything that we can do to help bring about more certainty in terms of dollars. The formula funds are obviously critically important in that realm. Everybody loves a great grant, but grants have their issues. Sometimes hidden cost, and by the time you get done with it, you're like, what the hell did I even apply for that grant to begin with? I got it. So those are the kind of things that we're looking at, and we want to try to improve. But it's an honor and privilege to serve on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. I'm really looking forward to serving as chairman of the Highways and Transit Subcommittee. Of course, if you took a nap during the last 2 weeks at any point, one day you woke up, I was chairman of the Railroad Subcommittee, and the next day you woke up and I was chairman of the Highways and Transit Subcommittee. Who the hell knows what subcommittee they'll have me chairman of tomorrow? But for today, it's Highways and Transit. And so anyhow, you got the roadmap. I appreciate your input. I appreciate what you do for our country, for our individual states. You all are where the rubber meets the road, and perform in a very, very, very important service to all of America. So with that, I got to get back to the Hill, but very good to be with you, and thank you so much.